Hello.
Hey, Will, it's Mikey C.
Hey, man.
How's it
How are
going?
And Kat.
And Kat.
Hey, Will.
Hi, Kat.
Will, we are, like I said, we are taping this for my podcast, but we are also live on Facebook. What is it? Facebook Live.
Facebook Live on Phantom.
On Phantom.
Yeah.
So it is a little bit live, so don't get too crazy on us here.
Yeah. So, as you know, Will tends to do.
Is it, the kids are asleep and everything?
Man, I barely made it. They got down about 5 minutes ago.
Oh, wow. You sure you're okay? I mean, we can call you back if you want.
No, I'm good. Let's do this.
All right.
All right. How old are your kids? We were trying to figure it out. They must be not too old, I'm guessing.
I was tempted to let you guess because then it would let you date me and see how old you thought I was.
Probably like
They're not
30 and 35, I would say. It's weird that you're still putting them to
That's
bed.
Right, Kat. That's right, Kat. They're not quite out of the house, but they're working on it. They're working on it.
You know, in today's job market, you never know.
Yes.
I got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get into like the whole Will Cain thing now that we know that he's got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. This is like been like the most anticipated interview in the history of my podcast. I've never had more requests for a guest than Will Cain.
Get out of here, man.
I swear, like for some reason, you are just you're very polar right now. You could say
that's not news to me. Polarizing.
Polarizing.
Yeah.
Did I say that right? Well, this is why I'm only doing podcasts and not on the air. What was it?
No, but I understand what you're saying. I've picked up on that. Somehow I have noticed that is a word that seems to apply.
Yeah.
Which I don't get it.
Well,
I thought my approval rating was 100%.
I actually, you know what, weirdly enough, I think it is. When it comes to they love you and they hate you, and I want to talk about your Twitter hate a little bit because you seem to be very involved in that.
Well, I have to admit, Will, when you were pretty much just starting with us, on the national side of things, like
when you were first starting with us on the
well, I mean, just recently, you probably got the most Twitter hate out of anyone. I think that we had for a while,
even more than.
And now Kat's telling me that you really get involved in the Twitter hate.
Yeah, because you were like looking at it, and we were like responding to it though. Like he's not scared of his Twitter hate. He's not somebody that's going to back away from it, but it's there.
I don't know. I feel like that's. I mean, you're right, Kat. Your observation, I think, is correct. I don't know why. Like my wife says, you've got to stop doing that.
Do you
got to stop. Yeah, I'll tell you why I respond. Okay, I'll give you two reasons. One is sort of intellectual, and one is more truthful, probably. I interviewed a guy named Gary Vaynerchuk, who is like this social media expert, and I don't know, he's got like 1 million plus followers on Twitter, and he's written bestsellers, and he's got a social media marketing company here in New York. He's a really compelling dude. He's got videos all over YouTube. You can see it. So I interviewed him one time before I joined ESPN. I said, man, I hate Twitter. I hate it. And he's like, well, you're using it wrong. And I said, well, tell me what I'm doing wrong. He goes, well, you're acting like it's just this broadcast mechanism where you put out your little pearls of wisdom or snarky jokes out to the world and leave it at that. And it's really an interaction mechanism, and you should be reacting to people and talking to them about the things they want to talk about and replying. And it reminds me of that joke in Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? I don't know if you guys saw that Coen Brothers movie.
Yeah, my mom and I watched it together. Yeah.
They're walking into that radio station, and it's the governor and his dumb son, and his son's like, Pappy, why aren't we supposed to be politicking? Why did he shake the guy's hand out in front of the radio station? He goes, son, we're not one at a time in here. We're mass communicating. But Gary Vaynerchuk's lesson is the opposite. He said, it's one at a time. You're picking off people. You're picking off fans. You're picking off people that want to listen to what you have to say one at a time by interacting. So at that point, I'm like, okay, maybe I'll just start interacting with people more. And to be honest, that's what I like doing. I hate typing out a tweet where I'm like, I wonder how many thousands of retweets I can get. I mean, I'm built for the interaction. I honestly am. That's why I do debate shows. It's why I like First Take.
Yeah.
I want to go back and forth with people. It's what I like. And then the more truthful thing is, the second side of that is, maybe I just have OCD, because every single one of these things, I'm like, I got to read every one of them, internalize it, and reply to as many as I can. I don't know.
Well, this isn't the order I wanted to go in, but since we're here, I kind of, this is the question I really wanted to ask you, because you are kind of being, you are the opinionated person at ESPN, and that's the way they want you to be. In a time where it's like an unprecedented right now with what's going on in the country. I mean, do you know what you got yourself into, really? That's what I'm trying to say.
Do I know now, or did I know?
Either both, I guess you could say. Did you know what you were getting into, and do you know?
No, look, you know this. Anybody that probably knows anything about me knows I've been involved in politics for the last 5 to 7 years of my career. So when I came over to ESPN in 2015, it wasn't like, and I'm going to bring my conservative shield with me and I'll be fighting every political battle that I can. No, man, I left that behind, and happily and willfully. It was like, no, right. I don't want to do this anymore. And the reason I didn't want to do it was multiple reasons. When I got into doing politics, by the way, I've never been like a political animal. What I mean by that is, like, I didn't stay up all night to see the results from the 19th district in California on election night. I didn't really ever care about the horse race politics. I got into politics because it was the table at which we had these interesting conversations.
Right.
Conversations about philosophy, race, taxation at a moral level, all these things that I found fascinating either in law school or in reading, not like, hey, how many votes can you get and how do you spin this to make it so it plays well in the public? I never dug that part of it. So I went into politics, like, I think with this naive point of view, where I think I can make smart, entertaining the same thing. Like, they can go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
And after being in that world for like 5 years, I just didn't see that was happening. I just felt like, there's a saying, I think, what is it that we talk about on TV? Do you bring heat or do you bring light? Right? So like when you're having light would assume that you're bringing some kind of illumination to the topic, helping people understand. Heat, you're just producing passion and fight. And I don't think they're mutually exclusive, by the way. But at the end of those 5 years, I'm like, it's all heat. It's no light. And so I don't have a place here.
Mm-hmm.
And so when I had an opportunity to come to ESPN and talk sports, I'm like, yeah, I love sports. I've loved sports since I was 6 years old, and I cried when Dwight Clark caught it in the back of the end zone in the 1981 NFC Championship game.
So you thought that's what you were getting into?
Yeah, man. I mean, I came here to do that. And I do think in the 2.5 years I've been at ESPN, it's remarkable how much the sports world has turned political.
Right. Gosh. All right, yeah.
Well, so I knew a little bit about you before you came to ESPN just because I watch a lot of cable news. And, wait, what was I going to ask here?
So, I want to know about your past jobs.
Yeah, what about your past jobs? Because
She's
I know
you were with Rachel
whenever you're talking about your past jobs, you talk about like being a rancher, being an author. But I've seen you on a lot of cable news that are more like liberal-leaning cable news. So I want like a full rundown of past jobs.
Past jobs?
Yeah,
okay.
like give us a timeline. How'd you get here?
All right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's where I kind of.
But I want them from the beginning. Like,
that's why I wanted to start
when you were a
this,
teenager, did you work at a gas station?
All right. Yeah, give us the
I worked
Will Cain
at a
rundown.
gas station,
yeah,
so
that'll get us to where I want to be.
Yeah, that'll help Mikey's next question.
Yeah.
Well, there were some jobs at like plant nurseries and landscaping in college that lasted a few weeks, but those aren't really pertinent to our story. I think the first job that mattered, I guess, would be when I was in law school. I went to the University of Texas for law school, living in Austin, Texas, and I clerked for a criminal defense firm in Austin, Texas. And that meant you were working on everything from DUIs to drug charges to probably, I don't even remember, probably had some domestic violence, whatever. But that's clerking when you're in law school. So that's like part-time work, getting paid not enough. And then at the end of law school, I decided, you know, I'd be happy being a lawyer. My dad was a lawyer. I've been raised around lawyers. It seems like everybody I knew when I was a kid in a small town in Texas where I'm from was lawyers. And it didn't escape my attention that like 7 out of 10 were miserable and saying, yeah, you should do something else. But I thought, you know, I'd be happy being a lawyer. This is kind of how I'm built. This is my constitution, but I'm going to go for the home run. I feel like that's sort of the theme of any choice I've ever made. Like, where's the fence? Because that's where I got to aim. I don't understand singles. I don't understand the doubles. If there's not a fence, I don't know how to hit it. So my home run for me was like, well, I think I want to be a writer. I like content creation. I like writing. So that's the rancher part of the story, Kat. I said, if I'm going to write something, I'm going to live someplace I've always wanted to live. So I loaded up my dog. I had a 75-pound Doberman that I got when I was in college, and he and I just pointed my truck north. Like, I didn't know where I was going. I heard Wyoming was cool. I was like, maybe I'll stop and live in Wyoming. But I knew a dude in Montana. I was like, well, that could be the end of the road. If I don't see anything else, I'll stop in Montana and stay with this guy. So that's what I did. And I did end up all the way up in Montana, about 30 miles east of Missoula, Montana. I fell in with a ranching family up there that did hunting outfitting. And I took hunters from all over the United States back into the mountains to hunt elk for about a year. And it was one of the greatest years of my life. Some of the best people I've ever met. I wrote a novel. The novel didn't go anywhere. And while I was up there, my dad died. And I was 25, and I'm the oldest of 4.
Right.
So my youngest brother, the one is 10 years younger than me. So he was 15. He was in high school, and I was like, well, time to grow up. Go home, be some kind of influential figure if you can, positive influence on your brother. So I went back home to Sherman, Texas, worked for a lawyer in town, and that's when my entrepreneurial bug started. I was like, well, writing a novel, that's a pretty bad way to make a living.
Yeah.
And I mean, no offense to John Grisham, he's figured it out. But I'm like, well, maybe I can marry my like love of content with my entrepreneurial desires. And I'd read some books, Warren Buffett biographies, a guy named Al Newhart who started USA Today, and newspapers were interesting to me. So I thought, you know what, maybe I could buy some newspapers, but first I ought to learn that business. So I called up some guys who own newspapers in the hill country in Texas. And these are small towns, 2,000, 5,000 person towns, Llano, Johnson City, Blanco, Texas. And I said, I'll come work for you. I have a law degree. I made $19,000 a year. They didn't offer me. They said, well, we don't need a lawyer, but you can come write and do everything. So I did everything from deliver newspapers to write articles to whatever was needed to learn every aspect of the business. I did that for a year. At the end of that year, I went and borrowed money from a bank and bought 2 newspapers back up north of Dallas. And then I started a 3rd, and then I started a 4th. And I had an idea, and I had a plan. And I thought, if I buy these community newspapers, I can sell them to dailies around them. So 4 years later, whatever it was, 3 or 4 years later, I did that. I sold the group that I'd put together to a big conglomerate out of Las Vegas. And that was a good little entrepreneurial lick for me. In the meantime, I also decided, well, I'd also like to be in the Latino market because that's a growing market. And I hope I'm not bogging you guys down with details on this.
No, this is perfect.
This
This is what we want.
I've always been, I just want to be involved in like growing markets. Like, and believe it or not, newspapers had some ways. I saw aspects that was a growing market. And another one was Hispanic. Well, the key is the word Hispanic is BS. It doesn't mean anything. It's a government census term. And it lumps together Mexican Americans, Cuban Americans, Chilean Americans, everybody of any kind of Latino background. Yeah, it lumps them together as though they're all the same. And it also lumps together 3rd generation to 1st generation immigrants. And that's such a broad brush that it's not a market with any kind of ties that bind. But the
also,
one thing
they all
I did
hate
find,
each other. I know this for a
Well,
fact. Thanks, Dad.
you know, I even thought like maybe sports, like okay, soccer, but in the Caribbean, baseball is more popular than soccer.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, and in Mexico and Central America, it's soccer over baseball.
Soccer, yeah.
Right. So I was like, well, what is a tie that really threads it through? And the thing that I found, my wife's from West Texas, where there's a bigger Latino population where I'm from, so she helped me on this as well, was quinceañeras. And you guys are you guys both?
I'm not familiar with that.
Will Cain.
You know what that is, Kat?
Yeah, of course I do. Quinceañera?
Where are you from?
Me? I'm from Connecticut.
Well, she's got the Latino backgroround. I'm not familiar with this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how two Northeasterners might know this, but yeah, when a 15-year-old Latina girl turns that age, it's like a debutante or a coming out or a bat mitzvah, and
like a sweet 16?
Really takes on. But it's at age 15.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it takes on all the trappings of a wedding. I mean, it has a court.
Huge dress. It's it's kind of debutante. Yeah. But with a more extensive dress. It's weird. They're even more extensive because everybody shits on debutantes, but this is actually more extensive.
Yeah, spend a ton of money, and debutante is kind of seen as like a, I don't know, an upper crust or highbrow, wealthy type thing to do.
But this is like quinces is obviously notoriously just because it's Hispanic lower class. But my dad's Hispanic, so that's how I know that.
Every Latino background except for Puerto Rican, really, and every socioeconomic group practices the quinceañera.
Yep.
And Puerto Ricans do Sweet 16. That's there. Created a magazine, website, and event company to help girls plan their quinceañera.
Oh my God.
and so here's the story. And I've gone around the beat around the bush on this, but where the newspapers were a success and I made money, the quinceañera business got a ton of hype, got a good media coverage, but in the end, I raised money from a hedge fund. But in the end, in 2009 or so, when the economy went down, my niche was too tight. I'd made plenty of my own mistakes, and the business failed. And so at the end of that, I was like, you know what? I've made money. I've lost money. The only difference and the only thing that keeps you from really analyzing how you spent your time and asking yourself, did I love what I did, is did you make money? And when you don't make money, there's nothing to cushion the blow.
Right.
In other words, you can do things that you don't like, and if you're making money, you can tell yourself that everything's okay.
Right.
Fine, I'm making a lot of money. But if you don't make money, all of a sudden there's nothing to kind of salve that with. Yeah. So for me, the answer was, well, you just spent 3 years on 15-year-old Hispanic girls, and that really wasn't my passion.
Really doesn't sound great either.
No, I've said before, if that was my passion, you need to call the FBI. but so I told myself that, look, I'll figure out how to make money. I'll figure out how to start businesses. I'll figure it out. Just do something you're passionate about. And I'm passionate about debate and philosophy and conversation. And that led me to where we started with politics and CNN and that, and eventually where I am now doing, I think, a lot of the same things at ESPN.
Yeah, and you've kind of done it all throughout the cable news circuit. Weren't you on like The View for a bit or something? Yeah. That's where you came from, yeah.
But you see, this kind of amazes
Will
me.
Cain was on The View. I feel like a lot of people don't know that, especially ESPN viewers who would like just know ESPN and they know ESPN and they watch ESPN. And they're like, Will Cain, that fucker. But like, you've done it all.
See,
you were like on CNN and like The View, and
you walk into the makeup room to like where everybody gets dressed, and there's Whoopi and there's Jenny McCarthy.
Right.
Hey, ladies.
Wow. Now, see, the thing that amazes me the most about the Will Cain story is, though, I mean, you have to have like uber ambition to have lived the life that you have, because I mean, you could. I mean, like I'm envisioning myself doing all these things that you did, and I could still see myself delivering newspapers like throughout this whole entire story. I mean, did you always know that there was going to be that you were gonna do more? I mean, have you always had that feeling that, all right, this is going to be there's something more out there? I mean, obviously, like you said, when you were doing the debutante thing, you're like, all right, story is not going to end here and everything like that. But even now, do you feel like you're content? I mean, would you ever think you're going to be content?
Whoa, that was a deep philosophical end to the question.
I kind of got to the end a little too fast. But
no, but it's the right question to ask, because the answer is probably no. I will probably never be content. Where I thought you were gonna stop was, are you now content? And the answer is no, I'm not. I want more. I want to do something different and more. And I think that can happen at ESPN. I hope it will. But I have, entrepreneurial, desires, burning things that I want to create and do. My own ideas that I want to execute. And I will. It's not just want. I'm going to. And it's just a matter of when that's going to happen. But the truth is, Mike, you asked, did I always know? I think I've had a plan. So when I was delivering those newspapers,
right.
Lano, Texas, I was doing it because I knew I need to know this, and I don't care what I'm getting paid. I don't care what it's, where my ego is, because I know what I want this to be in 2 or 3 years, and I'm willing to slope it. Look, man, I've had a lot of friends. I went to law school at the University of Texas, and a lot of them are very wealthy, and they're brilliant dudes. And I've had buddies back in Texas who have started businesses and who are in finance. They've made a lot of money. And I look at their path sometimes, and I'm like, yeah, you're really playing the long game here,
Yeah.
And I got to ask myself, how long is the game?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you this. I've always been willing to work for cheap or free only because I've known, well, what's my bigger plan? What do I want to get to 2 or 3 years down the road? So when I went and worked for those newspapers with a law degree for $19,000 and delivered newspapers, I did it not because I wanted, $21,000 instead of $19,000, but because I wanted
knowledge and
the ability to do much more, right? And I'll tell you, when I got into politics, one of the first things I did is I worked for National Review, which is a conservative think magazine.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, and I did it for free, man. I did it for free. And I told Rich Lowry, who's now a friend of mine, who's the editor of National Review, I said, I'll do this for you, and your pay in exchange for me will be that you will introduce me to everybody you know in television. And he did. And so, I did it for a year for nothing, living on my own savings. And one of the, he introduced me to several people, one of which was a guy named Bill Shine, who was at Fox News, who's no longer there. But, and Bill started putting me on Fox News for free. Again, I was still doing stuff for Fox for free.
Right. No, I've seen you there too.
Yeah.
Gosh. Well, you know what? I want to get into the First Take thing because, so you come to ESPN, they put you on First Take, right after Skip Bayless leaves. Were you ever concerned, people are going to think I'm going to be like a Skip Bayless wannabe? And I tell you, when I think of Will Cain, you were like the song that somebody says, oh, you got to listen to this song, and at first you don't like it, but then after a while you listen to it and you're like, wow, this really is a good song. But did you think, or was it when you first started in the First Take, was it a struggle to get comfortable taking over? Well, I don't want to say taking over for Skip Bayless because whatever, but getting into that whole role of being comfortable with Max and Stephen A. How was that joining the First Take team?
No, it was never uncomfortable.
Never uncomfortable.
Nope, not for one moment. Now, I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. First of all, that show, I've done a lot of different shows. I've sat next to Elliot Spitzer. I've sat next to Soledad O'Brien.
That's true.
The first time I sat down across from Stephen A. Smith, I knew right away, this works. What we're doing works. And chemistry is, I don't know, it's a mysterious thing, and I don't think it can be created. It can rarely be projected. When you got it, you got it here. But I never cared once, man. I don't want to overstate this. Look, here's the thing, Mike. Did people call me Skip Bayless wannabe all the time at first? Did they go into my Twitter timeline and do the 1.2 thing or whatever the number is?
Oh, God,
they do Skip all the time?
Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Oh, yeah, his basketball career.
Yeah. I don't know what it is.
It's like the average in high school or something, but I know what you mean.
They do that to me. And I'm like, why are they doing this to me? Like, I didn't even play basketball in high school. But it didn't bother me because, look, Skip is a talented dude who's managed to carve out a very, very influential place in our business. But he and I just aren't the same dudes. And still today, yesterday, somebody tweeted, like, is this a Looper thing, like that movie Looper, where Will Cain's a younger version of Skip Bayless, but it might actually be Skip Bayless.
That's pretty funny.
I'm like, it doesn't bother me because you haven't listened to me. Like, I just don't do the same thing Skip does.
Yeah, no, I've never thought that you were Skip Bayless at all, ever.
No,
We just sat in the same seat. And we have strong opinions. We're white, and we sat in the same seat. That's about the extent of it. But on the same note, people call me, I'll give you another example. They call me Skip Bayless, but they call me much worse than Skip Bayless.
Yeah.
They call me racist. I mean, I get called a racist probably.
You get Hitler anywhere in there?
Hitler, definitely Nazi, because that's the insult du jour. But never directly Hitler.
Well, guys, I'm Jewish. I can confirm that Will Cain is not Hitler or a Nazi.
Well, I appreciate that. Yeah. I'll tell you this: one of the most creative ones I've gotten recently is you have the haircut of a young Southern Confederate general. I was like, well, I got to give you credit for creativity. But here's the thing, man, and I'll tell you this. Does it get under my skin? I'd be lying if I didn't tell you that it doesn't weigh on you every once in a while, and your wife's like, you shouldn't read that all day. But I'd like to think it doesn't really get under my skin as much as you might anticipate, whether or not Skip or racist or whatever. And I'm sorry if this sounds, I don't know. I know who I am, and that's enough in the end for me. I know who I am, and I know what I'm doing. I know why I think what I think. I know my own motivations. I know how I treat other people, and I know my philosophies. And you can say those things about me, but it doesn't change who I am or what I think about myself. I don't like it. I wish it wasn't. It makes me think that I fail in my own communication efforts, but I'm not worried about who I am.
Do you have any regrets that you're not talking about, the Dwight Gooden strikeouts and just kind of that you're here in a time where sports has become so political? Like when you come to work, on Monday morning and they say, all right, we're going to do anthem protests in A block here and everything. You're like, oh, this is not what I came here for.
Yeah.
No, but I don't want it to be the only thing I do. And I've told them that. Like, I came here to do sports. I mean, not just, politics and the Dallas Cowboys,
right.
Both of which I'm very well versed in. But, yeah, I mean, I would not ask off. I've never, that's not true. I asked off one conversation.
Oh, really? Can you talk about it, or would you rather not?
No, I don't really want to talk about it, and that was my mistake. I should have been in it. I just didn't feel like the situation it wasn't the topic. It just wasn't the situation that I wanted. I didn't know everybody that was going to be involved in the conversation, and I didn't know the setting.
Okay.
And I'll tell you, the executive that asked me to that conversation was not happy with it. And he's one of the closest guys I work with at this company. I'll tell you, it's Dave Roberts, who runs
love Dave.
First Take.
I love Dave.
And yeah, I love Dave. And Dave ran radio for a while.
Right.
And
yeah, we
he runs First Take.
Yeah.
And I told Dave no. And he did not like it. And I'll tell you this. I regret saying no. It's the only time I've ever said no. I will never say no to any conversation because I feel pretty confident about what I think and why I think in any situation I'm willing to kind of like walk into what seem like dangerous conversations because I know I have a pretty good idea where it's going to come out. But I just don't want it to be the only thing, right? I just want to be able to talk about I don't know where
so like, did you say no because
strikeout rate is going to come up in the 2017 baseball season?
So you said no because you felt the feeling, or because you felt that the way that you were going to come out looking was just not what you wanted to look like, or you felt?
I just didn't think it was a situation where I was set up to have a successful conversation. I was wrong. Okay. I should have said yes. I should have said yes.
Interesting.
I don't know. I don't know how much other talent says no to different kinds of conversations. I have no idea on that, by the way. Yeah. But I've only said no once, and I would even go back and say yes to that one if given a do-over.
Right, but I think that you being a less malleable talent is probably a good thing. Because I feel like a lot of people.
What do you mean by less malleable?
Like you'll stand by what you want to say as opposed to just like bowing to what you should say or just ignoring the topic altogether. Stuff like that, which I do think happens sometimes.
Yeah, I think I don't know. I think a lot of people probably don't want
That was the wrong question to ask.
How does the dynamic? I wanted to know because
I've always question to ask.
I've always been curious for the people that want to know, like me. How does the dynamic of like a show like First Take work? Do you get approached by the producers and you say, "Here's a topic because of the day"? Now, do you know Max's and Steven's opinions on these topics before you go into the show, or do you? I mean, do they tell you?
I know. Yeah, no. I'll tell you. I'll walk you through that definitely because. One of the things I find fascinating is how First Take became sort of the punching bag of the sports media critic industry. Like, what is it about First Take that is it that they hated so much? And coming from the outside, I didn't have any of those preconceived notions of what First Take is. And one of the things that funny that people say is it's scripted or they give you your position or whatever. I mean, I can promise you nothing is further from the truth.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how it happened. And I'm sort of a role player on the show. I'm not one of the two main guys, right? So I will send my takes. I'll send an email the night before the show. I'll say, this is what I'm hot on. I think X, Y, Z, I don't know, from 5 to 10 different subjects. And they'll look at that so they can know when they go into the meeting, well, this is where Will is on this topic. And the only reason they need to know where I am is to know, do we have disagreement? Not to create disagreement, not to manufacture it. Do we have it? And when I have filled in, I know exactly how that meeting works. And you go into a meeting at 7:30 a.m. for a 10 a.m. show, and the producers at First Take are some of the best at the entire company. They are really good at understanding how television works and how to ask a question. And what I mean by that is this. You go in, you say, here are the big stories of the day. What do you think? What do you think? And say, Will, what do you think about the Bears taking Mitch Trubisky at number 2 or trading up to get Mitch Trubisky? I love it. And Stephen A. goes, oh, put it on the board. And that's the end of that discussion.
That's how that works.
That's the end of that discussion. And I know at that point, oh, he thinks I'm wrong or he thinks this is stupid from the Bears. And that's it. I don't know anything more.
Oh, wow.
And so for example, when that segment comes up in the show, I'm pretty confident we're going to have disagreement on it, but I don't know at what level, and I don't know what he's going to say. And so I've got to be prepared with what my opinion is, kind of anticipate what his might be if I want to have a rebuttal. And the only thing I've added to that is the producer's really good at asking questions that are good at provoking disagreement. Like, a lot of times I think we all get like bogged down in the grays of nuance, like, I could feel this way or that way about this. But if you ask the question a certain way, you're like, no, that's absurd, right? If you just ask a question a certain way, often people are like, no. And so finding that question is, I think, one of the keys to First Take's production.
Wow.
All right.
That is right. That's cool. Thank you for giving us a little behind the scenes there.
Yeah.
You want a sports question? We did get a sports question that we got asked to forward over to you. Our friend Jarrett. What was his question, Kat?
Dak Prescott.
Dak Prescott. It says moved into the top 10 of passing for quarterbacks for the Dallas Cowboys. What is it, passing yards, I guess?
Yeah, I think
stats? So. Yeah, he's in the top 10.
We already forgot Jared's question, but
he's
trying to piece it together right now.
He is in the top 10 of passing yards for all Dallas Cowboy quarterbacks, which I have not back-checked. But basically his question is Dak Prescott that good a quarterback? He was basically asking, is Dak Prescott that great a quarterback? Was that a question?
Yeah, is he that great to be in there because the Cowboys haven't won anything, so does he deserve to
I'm
be?
still going to re-edit this later.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
Well, if that's Jarrett's question, Jarrett, with all due respect, that's a horrendous question. Dak Prescott is greatness. Dak Prescott started his rookie year and led the Dallas Cowboys to a 13-3 record. It was one of the highest passer ratings, I think, in the history of the NFL. He set something over, I think, what did he end up with? Over 100 passer ratings.
Yeah.
What more could you have asked from
Not
a rookie
brag,
quarterback?
But yeah.
What more could you have asked? And in his second season, despite their record, he's actually better this year. But here's the best thing about Dak. Here's the best thing. Everybody I talked to, anybody in Dallas, Darren Woodson, who I've become friends with since I've been at ESPN, who knows that Cowboys organization, The dude has all the professionalism, all the character, and all the commitment to become great. And like,
I agree. I love
believe,
yeah.
I believe in that stuff like deeply, you know. You probably do when you have children. You're like, I don't know how much athletic talent I necessarily gave them from birth, so we're going to invest a lot in character. But some of these guys, like you think Brady's athleticism is why he's the greatest of all time? No. I mean, he is athletic. Don't fool yourself. I'm sure at every level of youth sports, he dominated everybody based upon his athleticism. That isn't what carried him to the top of like the all-time list. It's because of his professionalism and character and devotion. And I think, from what I hear, Dak has all of that. So, however good he is, I think he's just going to keep getting better.
I do agree with that. I do like Dak.
We'll see.
But I'm not like a Cowboys hater. You know, I'm a Jets fan, so I have nothing to lose.
Yeah.
So I'm not a Dak hater.
You're a Jets fan? Aren't you disappointed
I know.
Do you tell yourself, like, Josh, quit playing so well? Josh, like you.
Kind of, yeah. But at the same time, I get so pumped, and I also think that they were robbed against the Patriots.
Well, yeah. Now I think you've
but what is winning? Don't you?
I know we're never going to make it, but I can't help but be happy when they win. Because I'll pick them every week. I don't put money on it.
The Jets are reportedly going to tank, right? To get Sam Darnold, right? And everything is the preseason debate is, will they win a game? Will they go 0-16?
Which they should have.
Right now, the Giants have a worse record and have the
I
inside
know.
track on Sam Darnold.
But I mean, when you're winning, you gotta win, and I don't blame them for it.
Well.
But anyway, we have some fun questions for you as well. What Texas stereotype do you think that you fit into? Because I have a lot of family in Mesquite, and they are like my uncle Wild Bill and his children Mindy, Molly, and Mike. Yeah. I want to know what Texas stereotype. You ever been to a rattlesnake roundup?
I've never been to a rattlesnake roundup. No. Well, I don't know. Give me the stereotypes. I mean,
you got a shotgun in the
I don't
back
know,
of
like guns,
truck?
sundown towns.
Oh gosh, do I have a gun? I have I don't know.
Do I have more guns than you, Will Cain?
I think you might.
I think I might.
I think you do.
Oh no, maybe I wasn't communicating well. Do I have a gun? I have dozens of guns.
Oh, okay. I only have 3.
But I have to say, they're all in Texas. So technically, I might have 0 guns because none of them are in New York City, which has one of the strictest gun control laws in the nation.
Oh my God, they're insane there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like where they could really use them too.
I mean, I wear cowboy boots. I don't wear them much around Bristol, but I mean, that was my everyday wear for most of my life. I definitely grew up with guns and shooting and hunting.
Mm-hmm.
I had a deer lease in Mason, Texas when I was a kid. I grew up duck hunting outside of Lake Texoma, Texas. I went to Grayson County Speedway to watch dirt track racing when I was in high school.
Oh, I love dirt track racing. Yes.
Jeez.
Oh, dirt track is so cool.
It is the best.
Yeah.
I've been to rodeos. I've been to horse auctions.
Mm-hmm.
All
Yeah,
right.
one of my first concerts was a Fleetwood Mac cover band at a rodeo. That was my first concert.
How about that? Best concert Will Cain's attended. Your favorite
what is
concert
your
you've
best
been to?
concert?
You gotta stump me. Can I tell you this? Okay, here's the thing. Okay, I know the answer. I'm not.
You can give us top 2 or something.
I'm not a music aficionado. Okay, I'm a movie aficionado. I'm a sports aficionado. I'm a TV series aficionado. I love these things, but there are things that I know that I don't care about as deeply as other people. Like
music.
Food. I'm not a foodie.
No.
I'm right with you there. Yeah.
Eat to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I
that's
eat
me.
to live, 100%. I don't live to eat. I eat to live.
Right.
And music. I don't have like sophisticated, important music taste. And I don't like concerts. I don't want to go to a stadium where I've seen Bruce Springsteen at MetLife Stadium. I've been thinking, it's all right. It's okay.
All right. No, you're the same as me. I like the album version better if I'm going to listen to it in the first place.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
You listen to it in your car. You have fun. You don't have to go
except I like a
stand
small
there with
show.
a bunch of people.
But I like a small show.
Right.
Like where we're all sitting around. So some of the best stuff I've seen would be like Robert Earl Keane at Green Hall in Texas, or Willie Nelson at the Backyard outside of Austin. Smaller venues where you can talk, hang out with your friends, drink beers, and the music is in there, and you can look up and go, look at old Willie still doing it.
Oh, God, I hate it when it gets too loud and you can't even talk. It's the worst.
If you could choose where you're going to retire, what state do you picture yourself retiring in?
Well, if this goes the right way, Mike, I'm not going to have to pick one.
Oh, that's okay. Where are you going to spend the majority of your retirement?
I will be in Texas and I will be in Hawaii. Those are the two
I
places.
love Hawaii.
Right on.
Oh, beautiful Hawaii.
Because that's the thing, man. That's the other side of me. Like, I'm not willing to sign up for stereotypes across the board. I like what I like, and I like surfing. And I grew up, and we would go to Hawaii in the summers, and I would surf. I went to college at Pepperdine in California, and I surfed here in New York, out on Long Island.
Really?
And I would do that over golfing any old day. And I go by myself. I don't care. I don't even care if the waves are that good. I just like being in the ocean, on the water. And I'm not any good. I'm not like I'm acting like I'm like doing amazing surf aerials or anything like that. It's just like, can I stand on the water for a little while? That's what I need.
Well, it's funny. We had Jason Fitz on, and he was our guest last week. And I told him that I would buy stock in Jason Fitz the way he's going to ESPN. But you, I think, are like the Apple or the Google of ESPN right now. You are the highest stock of ESPN.
Plus, you got to watch out for sharks.
Stock,
like, if you're in the Northeast, it's colder waters. You just got to watch out for sharks. That's all I'm saying. You never know.
Thanks.
I never think about it, Kat. First of all, Mike, I'm extremely flattered. Thank you. I don't know. Every day's touch and go. So we'll see how it goes. But thank you. And Kat, I don't think about sharks. I'd rather you not remind me.
Sorry. It's all I think about whenever I go beyond my knees in the ocean.
Well, we appreciate you doing this.
Now they can get me.
This has been some really cool insight. I appreciate you finally joining us.
Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for asking me.
Yeah, we're definitely going to tweet this out and everything like that. So.
Oh, wait, I do have one last question.
Okay.
Who do you like better, Mikey or Bubba?
I don't think I've
I'm not going to do that.
Yeah,
First of all, outsider, you're never on our show. I don't know where you are. Like,
I know. I'm just thinking in terms of board ops here on ESPN Radio. Who do you like better, Mikey or Bubba?
I'm sure he's heard better outsider stories than Bubba stories.
Yeah.
And outsider is now invited me onto his podcast. Sorry, Bubba, the bar's been set. By the way,
yes.
If I'm like saying who has operated the board the most for Rosillo when I've been on the show, Bubba's probably got most time logged, but you're above Mike. Mike, how many times have you been on the board when I've been on the show? Like less than half a dozen. Twice?
Probably, but apparently it's all because that. It's all because I guess I steal the show so much, and Ryan likes to talk to me that they don't want me on so much.
He steals the show so much, and he really does.
So they only keep me like a limited. I'm only limited engagements, but Hopefully I'll get to do more shows for you. I'm actually when you're on with Mike and Mike, I'm back on the radio side. You don't get to see me because of the whole Mike and Mike studio, but when we have the new Mike and Mike setup, you'll see me a lot more.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, guys.
Well, thank you very much.
Thanks, Will.
And, appreciate it.
Yeah, we'll definitely talk to you soon, my friend.
Okay, see you next week.
All right.
Yeah, I'll probably just see you in the hallway tomorrow, and then we can act like this never happened.
Okay. All right.
All right. Well, take care.
Thanks, Will.
Wow. Well, we got some really cool insight.
Definitely.